So Bayron's going to come in the back door?
Yeah.
So did anyone talk to Jennifer and, what was your name again, sorry? Caroline about the prayers?
I mentioned that.
Okay. So we're going to start with opening prayers. And these also serve as, often we do prostrations to the teacher. Not that it's about me, more that it's about bound to the teaching, but this place is so tight that by the time everyone sits down, there's no room to move around in here. So we're calling the opening prayers the prostration. So it's always good, we can be in these classes and it happens, You hear these teachings for years, or you're teaching them for years, and then we start the class with the opening prayers and don't even think of what they mean anymore. We just say the Tibetan, and it's nice and it feels good, but it's good to think about what they mean. So as you're saying the mantra or the chant, it's good, to set up your mind, to be open. Because that's important, to have an open mind. And if you have a certain thought on your mind, a certain motivation on your mind, it really helps. And so as we're doing the opening prayers, thinking in your mind, as we offer the mandala for the first one, that what is worth your freedom? Like what, if someone came up to you and said, I can offer you $3 billion tax-free. You can have that, or you can have a body and mind that is free of all mental anguish, and you can have contentment forever. Which would you take? That might tell you where you're at in your spiritual practice. If you have those two options in front of you, right? Well, I guess I'll take the billion, because I think I'd rather live the rest of this samsaric life out in the lap of luxury. And then I'll die with a really expensive gravestone. They'll make a mausoleum for me. I'll have a really nice tomb with like the leftover 10 million that I have after I die. And it's like we don't think much about those kinds of things, that our life is ending, that we don't know how much time we have left. We really don't know. And we don't think about the fact that the only thing keeping us alive is the passing of the breath in and out of your nostrils. You stop that for 3 minutes and it's over. And so we can, tomorrow I'll get to my practice. Next week I'll get to my practice. So it's good to think, like, okay, $3 billion or ultimate freedom. But the point being, when you're offering the mandala in the beginning, the idea is there is no amount of money that could buy you your freedom. There is no amount of money that could equal the gift of freedom from suffering. So what can we do? We have to offer a universe. We have to offer in our minds a mandala. And imagining a mandala, like, okay, I'm offering a sky full of flowers, right? Or I'm offering a universe full of divine music, or I'm offering a sea of bliss, or whatever it is in your mind, then you can have fun with it and play around with it and keep it fresh. And then in the second prayer, thinking like, okay, I'm going in hopes that these teachings that were said by the Buddha and have been practiced by many great practitioners, and these teachings that have the potential to produce enlightenment and have indeed produced enlightened beings, may those very words actually ignite my mind. May they be the thing that saves me. So you're going for refuge in those words, in those teachings, in those practices, versus going for refuge in the $3 billion that you just got offered. It's kind of like making a choice like that. So that's a good, healthy thing to have on your mind as you're doing the prayers, instead of, like I do, just sing the tune and it's like, okay, now we're going to start class. So let's do the prayers. Oh yeah, we do this Han mandala, which you don't have to do. You can also just make a bowl, but you can also learn the mandala, which is fun.
Okay. Oh no, I can't teach it.
You know what? I find the best way to teach that is you turn around so that you're facing this way. And here, I'll show it. So you go, right? You cross your pinkies.
Then cross the fourth thing, yeah. And grab with the second thumb.
Thumbs, right?
Yeah.
And then, you make this peak, and then you cross these two. And then you hook these two. And you point it up.
Which one's the crossovers of the highest?
Yeah, so your ring fingers are pointing
the
up.
middle fingers will cross over each other. And then you grab the opposite of those.
It's very strange
Two in the middle.
and fun.
These ones cross.
That's it.
And this one grabs these two.
There you go.
Oh my gosh, and these two.
Yeah, and that's-
They don't cross, they
Yeah,
don't
those two
cross.
are-
Oh, they don't cross.
Those cross, and they grab
Those don't cross, but all
Oh, I
those
see.
cross.
You know what? Are you
So weird.
It
you
is
hooking your pinkies? Okay.
wrong.
Oh.
Yeah.
And these two
That's
cross.
hard to do.
And then
It'll get
whatever
easier.
fingers are-
I was teaching in Saskatoon, and there was this 14-year-old kid that was there that was like so excited about this thing. He's just like, at the end, he's showing that thing, and then he was super stoked, and he wanted to show all his friends this. Starts.
Sashi
Buki Jukshin Neto Tramri Rabling Shi Nyendegan Padi Sange Shindu Miteuwa Gidro Kunanda Shinra Chubasho Idam Guru Ratnamanda Kamiyatayami
Sange
Chudam Soki Chaknamba Chanchu Badu Dati Kyasuchi Dati Jinjin Gipe Sunamki Rula Pinchir Sange Drupasho
Sange
Chudam Soki Chaknamba Chanchu Badu Dati Kyasuchi Daki Jinjin Gipe Sunamki Rola Pinchir Sange Drupasho
Sange
Chudam Soki Choknamba Chanchu Bardu Dakni Kapsuchi Daki Jinyan Gipe Sunamki Rola Pinchir Sange Drupasho. Just keeping your eyes closed. Relax your hands. Relaxing your hands on your legs wherever they're comfortable. We'll do a short meditation. Relax your body into the earth. So feeling like you're resting supported by the ground. Think of the ground as any surface that your body is touching. It's a sense of releasing tension by relaxing into that. Relaxing the belly, relaxing the shoulders. Take a deep inhale, expand and draw the crown towards the sky. And as you exhale, relaxing the shoulders even more. Relax the jaw. Relax the eyebrows, forehead. And with this relaxation, also cultivating an open, attentive mind. By lifting the heart slightly, like you're lifting and opening up the heart. And opening up the ears. Like you're trying to hear something very quiet in the distance. You want to hear it, so your whole body has become attentive. But you're also relaxed. Give yourself an inner smile, which might translate to a little outer smile. Watch your breath for a couple of minutes, just at the nostrils. Taking your mind's focus and pointing it at the tips of the nostrils. Simply watching the breath as it passes these points, in and out. Not controlling the breath. Notice any tense, subtle wish or need to control the breath. Let it be as it is, no matter what state it's in, so that your breath and body can be present and take you where you need to go. It's only the mind that wants to jump around and change the way the breath may be. Thinking of the past, thinking of the future. So we use the breath and the body to bring ourselves in the present moment, because the breath and the body has no choice. It has to be in the present moment. If you feel any tension mounting or lingering tension from the day, just try and melt it. You can breathe into it and fill it with breath, or visualize golden light going there on the in-breath and melting it, and it melts away on the exhale. Now, call to mind your teacher. If you don't have a so-called quote-unquote teacher, Lama, Guru, just place someone there whom you have great reverence for, someone whose qualities that you admire and would like to have yourself. It would be good if they had taught you something directly in this life. Or you can use a historical figure. But whoever they are, see them in vivid color if you can. If that's tricky, you can draw an outline of them in the sky in front of you, and then fill it in with color. Try to make it like they're there and alive, breathing, looking at you. Feel their eyes upon you, feel the warmth of their love upon you. They're holding you in an embrace simply by being near you. You're under their protection simply by them being near you. And then in your mind, make 3 prostrations. Bow to them 3 times in your mind. And then make them an offering. Some kind of beautiful offering that you can imagine, you hand to them. The highest offering is your practice, so you can offer them some evidence of your practice, if you like. And then confess something, tell them something that you wish you had done differently in the last 24, 48 hours. You know, Holy Lama, I yelled back at that guy today. I wish I hadn't. It's nice to feel like they already know anyways. And to notice that their love for you doesn't change. They're happy that you've confessed. And then tell them something that you're really happy that you did. Rejoice in your virtue. You know, you tell them, oh, Holy Lama, I had this miraculous experience of going to a bank machine because I wanted to give a homeless person some money. Small daily things, things that you did out of kindness, or anything that you're happy that you've done. And then tell them about something that someone else has done that you're happy about, really excited, And then ask them to teach you, to continue to teach you. Please ignite my mind. Please keep blessing my mind with your words, with your actions. Help me see that every movement of your body is a teaching for me. Help me see that how you are in the world is a teaching for me. Then ask them to stay. Please stay until I am totally enlightened. Take me all the way. So keep this image, see them floating in the air above you. And then in your heart, picture a flame. And it's like this flame of love that's burning there. It's your desire for enlightenment. It's your desire for other beings not to suffer. It's your devotion for your Lama. It's your devotion to other beings. It's your devotion to service. And then the Lama, your guide, comes closer to you and sits across from you. And they blow a gentle breeze from their mouth. And the flame ignites in your heart. The wind from your Lama ignites the flame in your heart. And suddenly you are simply ablaze in love for other beings. And your desire to do good for others, your desire to do your practices becomes very strong. And then you're so sense of gratitude that you decide you want to sing to your Lama. So keep your eyes closed and have your Lama in front of you, and we're going to sing in call and response. And it's a song that probably many of you have heard, because it's quite well known kirtan song. And we can do call and response, because I'll do the call and then Mishi will respond so you'll know. Om Namo Gurudev Namo Om Namo Gurudev Namo Om Namo Gurudev Namo Namo Gurudev Namo Om Namo Gurudev Namo Namo Gurudev Namo Gurudev 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 Gurudev Namo. I think we can all sing it together now since it's pretty easy and we all know it. Om Namo Gurudev So stay with your eyes closed and just feel the warmth in your heart and the feeling in your body from singing and thinking of a high object at the same time. And then this Lama that's been in front of you as you sang to them, see them come over above your head, shrink down to about the size of your thumb, and then alight upon your crown. And then they melt into your crown. Come down your central channel and reappear in your heart, where they unite with your flame. And then gently opening your eyes, and at the same time trying to not be too jerky about it or quick about it, and try and keep this relaxed feeling with this feeling in your heart of openness and sort of divine presence in your heart. So now we should be ready. We should be ready now to. We should be open now. Because last class we talked about the qualities of a teacher. You know, what are the 10 qualities of a teacher? And that being an important subject because it's of crucial importance. that your teacher be somebody that you feel has the ability to help you, has the ability to take you somewhere higher. It's not really that functional to have a teacher that you see as your equal. It's just not that functional for you. I mean, as you see like somebody who, they know some stuff, they're cool. I'll come to their class and, we'll kind of hang out and it'll be cool, we'll be friends. What, that it's very, very beneficial for your spiritual progress to see your teacher as someone who's like unbelievable, who is somewhere where you're not quite there yet, and you recognize that you got a bunch of practices to do before you can reach where they are, and that will entice you to do the things that they ask you to do, and that will entice you to study, and that will entice you to listen to them. Because they, as amazing as they may be, you may have the virtue to actually see them as holy. You may see them, wow, this person is a totally enlightened being. They still can't help you. They still can't, I'm sorry, the person can help you, but they can't do it for you. They can't reach into your karma. They can't reach into your mind and just like do it for you. Or can they? What do you think? Is it possible for them to do it? Tarjit says, yeah, of course. That's why I'm here. Why? And so why, Tarjit? Because
they're empty.
Because they're empty. And so, what you're saying is that, what you're saying, let's consider the teacher being empty. So I guess what you mean is that they're empty and lost inside, and they feel empty, and that's why they can help you. That's what that means. No, it doesn't mean that. So they're empty must mean something else. Tarjit's going to rain wisdom upon us right about now. What does it mean that because they're empty they can't like maybe reach in and like.
Teacher doesn't have self-nature, but then if I have the karma to receive a blessing and see emptiness directly, then I can see that teacher doing it for me.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because the teacher, just like anything else, is just as empty as this clock. Remember, it's not full of clock, right? It's just empty of clock. Meaning, those of you who are new to this idea, meaning that this is not a clock until your mind perceives it as a clock. Until your mind perceives it as a clock, it's just an object that has the potential to be something. And if it was a clock from its own side, if it was full of clockness, the clockness monster, if it was full, right, what would that mean? What would that mean?
Everybody would see it.
Everyone would see it as a clock, including a dog. Would look at it and go, oh, there's clock. And so is your teacher. And why? Like, what's the difference between someone tell me how it is? No, someone tell me why your teacher could be walking through the Safeway and it's so weird because no one's bowing to them. What's weird? It's so strange. They're like pushing a shopping cart in the Safeway, and they're going over the avocados, and they're like looking at them, and like, why isn't everybody like going, oh my God, here comes this holy teacher? Let's make him constant offerings. Why not?
They don't know he's a teacher.
They don't know he's a teacher. Why don't they know he's a teacher? He never taught them anything. That could be true. But there's another reason why. First of all, we have what Tanjit has so nicely said. They're empty of being a teacher from their own side. So, but what else? What's the other very important part of the emptiness that must be said?
You don't have the karma of seeing as a teacher.
Right. So if you see this person shopping for avocados in the Safeway with a shopping cart as a holy being that could save you from suffering, is that coming from virtue, do you think, or is it coming from like some nasty things that you've done? What could cause that? If the things that you see in the world have some kind of cause, do you think that something as amazing as that could come from being unkind to people?
You're going to see path that you've created in your karma.
Pardon?
You're going to see the karma that you've reflected on.
Right, so you're seeing your karma. You're seeing your karma. So, if you're seeing your karma, and if this person that's shopping for avocados in the Safeway with a shopping cart is appearing to you as something like, wow, what karma are you looking at? Are you looking at karma of harming people, or are you looking at karma of taking care of people? Taking care of people. So, if other people in the Safeway don't see your teacher like that, why? Sharon said they don't have the karma. I know. I want to just take it further because we've been talking about karma. We know about karma, but let's speak English. Why not?
It's not that the people who don't see him as a teacher have done bad things. It's just that they don't have the same type of karma as the person who does see him as a teacher.
That's also true. Yeah, they don't have the same karma. Because if you have so much virtue from past deeds, you can't help it but see holy beings everywhere you go. You can't help it. It just so happens that because of our mixed karma, we need one to start with. Your lama, your teacher, their job is to make you see more of them. Like a teacher with improper motivation would be like trying to figure out some way to like always be the special one for you. I'm always going to be the one for them. They'll always give me offerings and they'll always be doing things for me. And no, it's like they're gonna do their best to try and make you see more beings like them, like until that's all you see are beings like them. That's their job. So so you could say, if a person doesn't see that person shopping for avocados as a holy being, then there's some kind of karmic, something's amiss in their karma where they don't have the virtue that it would take to see a teacher like that. So, anyways, that's just kind of backing up last class where it's very important that you see someone, that you take your spiritual real estate and put it into the hands of someone who you see will take great care of you. By the evidence of how they're living and all that. But so we talked about that last class. So now we're going to talk about what makes a dharma authentic. We talked about the authentic teacher last class. Today we're going to talk about what's an authentic dharma. So for a dharma to be an authentic dharma, what do you suppose it has to do for a dharma, for a teaching, for What do you suppose it would have to do?
Can you say it's universal? You can apply it in everything you do.
Mm-hmm. That's one answer. Like, if you get taught by a teacher who's following a certain path, and they're transmitting a lineage to you that's been passed down for thousands of years, and they give you practices to do, and they give you things to think about, and if you do those practices, what should happen?
You should experience it.
You should get results, right? You should get results. So, an unauthentic dharma, so in other words, if a spiritual teaching, if there's something missing from it, or there's a missing element, or there is not authentic, they say that you could practice it for 1,000 years and not develop one sliver of authentic realization. You know, it wouldn't matter, it wouldn't function for you. And you know, it would be like getting into a car without gasoline in it. You know, it's a beautiful looking car. You turn the key and nothing happens. No matter how many times you turn the key, there's just no gas in the car. Everything, it looks great. Everything looks like it, you know, or there's gas in it, or there's one important, crucial element missing. You know? And there's a lot of teachings out there that, you know, don't tell the full story of what the Tibetan Buddhists are saying or what Lord Buddha said about what suffering is and how to get out of suffering. You know, there's teachings that talk about nirvana, like, oh yeah, nirvana is some blissful, peaceful like heaven that you just, you know, you meditate on nothingness and there's nothing to worry about and you're just like in this heavenly nirvana. You know, there's teachings like that. There's teachings that like that aren't geared to get you out of suffering. They're geared to make your present existence just nicer. Like there are teachings out there that are designed to help you cope with the ups and downs of life. And that's fine if that's what you want. I mean, if you want the cycle of your life to simply be that, well, then those teachings are good for you. But if you want to reach total enlightenment and change your body and mind, well, those teachings aren't gonna do the job. You know, not to say that they wouldn't lead you somewhere, not to say that they wouldn't function for you to get to where you need to go next, but in this context, they wouldn't be an authentic dharma that's supposed to offer realizations and freedom. You know, there's dharmas, there's teachings, even like Tibetan, even they say, like there's Tibetan Buddhist lamas that have come out of Tibet and advertise that they're these, you know, geshes or something, and they're actually not. Geshe Michael says that, you know, that they're not, and they teach things, and then you hear, and if you attend these classes and you get the meaning of karma and emptiness in your mind, you'll spot it right away. You'll spot right away an improper teaching on emptiness. Like, you know, if they're teaching in any way that things are empty, and so that means that everything's an illusion, and so I can do anything I want to. I can just change the meaning of it. That's a very dangerous, unauthentic dharma, and it will just send a person into some suffering realm of mind. You know, or they teach that suffering realms don't exist. I mean, what is a suffering realm? How could a suffering realm exist? You know, how is it that? How could nirvana exist and a suffering realm not exist? if you see yourself, if you see yourself projecting Buddha paradise, where is that coming from? Is that coming from somewhere out there? I mean, have you entered Buddha Mall? Is that what's happened, or has something else happened? Right? It's coming from your mind, right? So if that's true, then couldn't you also project some hellish reality where things are extremely confusing and painful? I think many people, on Earth are in places like that. They're not even, they could be in a cafe. They're not even sure whether it's going to explode in flames in the next minute. We don't have to worry about that over here. So there are 3 qualities to an authentic Dharma. And one of them, for it to be an authentic Dharma, it has to be spoken by a certain person. Who do you think that is? Pardon? Guru, yes. Guru, for sure. A certain guru, though. If it's supposed to be authentic Dharma, it should have come from a certain source, a certain guru who lived so many thousand years ago, before Jesus walked around. His name was the Buddha. Yeah, say Tunpa, Sangye, Ki Sumpa. Tunpa means the teacher, like the teacher. Whenever in Tibet, when they say Tunpa, they mean like Shakyamuni Buddha, the teacher, the one who spoke these teachings. Sangye means him, Ki means by, and Sumpa means spoken. So teaching spoken in the Buddha. It's teaching spoken by the Buddha. And teachings spoken by the Buddha are called the Kangyur. Kang means word and gyur means translated. So Kangyur are words that have been translated, written down, that were actually spoken by the Buddha. There used to be 300,000 books. And in the 8th and 9th century, the Muslims just annihilated monasteries in India and just destroyed. And now there's only, they say 1,108 books left. They just literally got decimated in India. And so the Tibetans actually have the most scripture in the world left. Like they've managed to save the scriptures.
Is it translated to English? All of it?
No, not all of them, but some of them have,
But much of it was destroyed by the Chinese army.
and more were yeah, that's very true. Luckily, luckily for us, I could say luckily and be in great danger. It's not luck, right? We have the good fortune that there's enough in English. There's enough that's been translated into English to make you enlightened. That's all you need, right? You only need enough scripture to be taught and put into practice and become enlightened. But there's masses of Tibetan works that have not been translated into English. And the Kangyur consists of Vinaya teachings, which is the teachings on vow morality, which is the teachings that the monks and nuns follow, specifically. And the teachings on the perfection of wisdom, that's in the Kangyur. There's 3 sections of sutras, or open teachings, and secret teachings as well. So, if you hear the word sutra, do you know what sutra means when I say sutra?
Teaching.
Yeah, and a specific kind of teaching.
Buddhist teaching.
A Buddhist teaching that was spoken by the Buddha that is not secret. Yeah. So that's what that means. And the Tantra, then what would Tantra mean?
No, it's a secret.
Yeah, a secret teaching. And why are they secret teachings? What's so special about this fancy Tantra?
Protect us.
Yeah, to protect us, because if you're not ready to get the Tantra, in other words, what that means really is if you don't have the proper morality and you don't have the karma, well, let's leave karma out of it for a second. If you don't have proper morality, and when I say proper morality, I mean morality based on karma and emptiness. In other words, proper morality means you know why. It's not that you're being moral because someone told you to. You're being moral because you understand your actions bring results. And because you want to become a totally enlightened being, in order to help all living beings, you understand that keeping your morality is a very cornerstone of that whole thing. I mean, without that, it's not going to happen. Tantra sure won't happen. Because the Tantras teach very specific practices that advertise, well, okay, you can reach a certain point, enter the gateway to Tantra, and then you can reach enlightenment in one lifetime. You can do it in one single lifetime. Otherwise known as in a single instant. And we talked about this before, but they're not secret in the sense of being, there's no vault. Right? There's no big vault with 14 Tibetan guards holding their dorjes and bells in front of it saying, you cannot enter here. Because you can go to Banyan Books tomorrow and fill your basket full of Tantra, you know. But how is it that Tantra it would function for you? What do you need?
You need to have the karma.
You need to have the karma. You need to have the virtue. And if you practice the sutras sweetly and correctly, remember the lamas were talking about this weekend, weren't they, Jennifer? You know, they were talking about that. Like, if you practice the sutra sweetly, the natural result is Tantra. You can't even stop it from happening. You just begin to live in like a tantric world. And you begin to, you know, and if you're even more fortunate, you have like a tantric lama that's actually informing your experience and saying, okay, this is great. Now do this, plant this karma, plant that karma. But if you don't have the karma, if you don't have that much virtue, you can literally go to a tantric empowerment and nothing will happen. You can pay the money and, you know, they can say all kinds of Tibetan words and wave some fancy things around and give you a bracelet and you didn't get an empowerment because it didn't go into your mind.
How do you know you're prepared for that?
How do you know you're prepared for Tantra? That's a very good question. Anybody want to try?
You get results.
You just feel it.
Is there a moment of realization? Is there a paradigm?
Can you explain that a little bit?
Like when you're debating something, you're contemplating why is, the question of what is life and so on, and then then something shifts and you get a evolution in the mind. So then the paradigm is that you see the world a different way. The realization is something that you change.
And okay, so how would that translate into you knowing you're ready for Tantra?
Is it maybe that you don't know? It just you just see when you're ready to see.
Yeah, you don't know when you're ready for Tantra. It's not like you wake up one day and go, it happened. I'm ready for Tantra now.
Yeah.
That's not how it happens. What basically happens is it just starts happening.
Yeah.
It starts happening. All of a sudden, you start hearing about these tantric lamas around. You're like teaching tantra, and you're like, what? Like you're not going to hear about that until you have the virtue to hear it. And then you say, well, you may actually say to them, well, could you teach me tantra? And then you may or may not get a yes. You may get a no, and then which may mean that you've got to keep trying, which may mean you get to ask them again and again. But from their side, the prerequisite for you being ready for tantra is going to be how much compassion do you have? How much compassion do you have? How much understanding do you have about why you should be moral? How much understanding do you have about, the last thing that you would ever want to do would be to yell back at somebody if they yelled at you? Like, how well do you really know why that's true? But mainly they'll be watching for your heart, the kindness and the compassion in your heart, and how bad do you want it? How bad do you want out of suffering like that? So it's kind of like a mixed answer, right? It's like that. Because truly, you could be living like sort of a tantric life and not even know it. And then you find out. you get the, oh yeah, well, that's been happening to me this whole time. You may find that out, and then you're doubly blessed because then you get informed. You get informed, then you can do something with it versus just like going, wow, this is kind of amazing. I don't know how this is happening, but you can then turn that wheel more. Okay, so that was the first quality. Should be spoken by the Buddha. Second quality, say Pandit, Kyun, Selwa. Selwa means clean. Kyun means corruptions. And Pandit means, what do you think Pandit means? Wise man. Pandit, right? Wise man. This means masters must have torn apart, analyzed, and cleaned these teachings from any corruption. Which, according to Geshe Michael Roach, everything in the ACI binders that's been done to all the scriptures that we have. They've all been gone over again and again by such great beings like Jason Kappa. Great beings that have written commentaries on the Buddha's teachings have taken long and extensive looks at this Dharma and say, is there anything amiss here? Is there anything that's awry? Is there anything not adding up? And if so, correcting them. Like things I said earlier, like wrong teachings on emptiness and wrong teachings on nirvana, and wrong teachings on morality and things like that. So there's the Kangyur, and then there's also the Tengyur. And a lot of what we study are the Tengyur. So the Tengyur are, we'll say, ten means words spoken, and gyur means by a human translated. So it's like words spoken by a human translated. And what that is, those are the commentaries on the teachings, because some of these teachings are so difficult to understand that they need commentaries on them by great practitioners who say, well, okay, well, this is what this means. This is what that means. Like, I don't know if you remember, like Jason Kappa, who wrote the Lamrim Chenmo. I think one of the first classes we took, this whole thing is based on teachings by him, and he had to write commentaries on his work and then commentaries on his commentaries because people were like, we don't get it. you gotta make it simpler for us. And so great masters over the years have commented, and so we use some great commentaries in our courses. And those commentaries have been analyzed, gone over, and fixed if any errors, if there have been any errors. And the Tengyur, oh, sorry, Tengyur.
Okay. So the Buddha said stuff,
Yeah,
and people wrote it down.
yeah, the Buddha never wrote anything down.
He didn't write it down.
Yeah.
And then other people proofread that to make sure that they translated it correctly, that they wrote it correctly, and then there's commentaries on it.
Yeah, it's like
I had work, sorry.
no, that's okay. That's okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's like, yeah, so the Buddha spoke, and then these amazing beings who had much better memory than we have now actually could memorize, would remember the entire, and then write it down, or carve them down, right? And then once they were written down, then they would, like you just said, checked for errors, like checked against their peers, checked for errors, checked, make sure that it was in line with the actual teachings themselves, and then those teachings themselves were commented on. And there's other works that weren't spoken by the Buddha directly, like for instance, we study the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life a lot, written by Master Shankadeva. And of course, he bases his teachings on the words of the Buddha, but there's lots of commentary on his work, because his work is hard to understand, especially, they say, the 9th chapter. So, the beauty of that is that the commentaries that we're using have been put into practice time and time again by great practitioners. And these great practitioners have been so passionate about their practice and trying to get it out to people that they've taken the time out of their lives to create a whole dissertation on here's what this means and here's how to practice this. And it's cool because if you get into, we're going to do ACI 13 next, and it's all about logic and debate. And a lot of these scriptures are written in debate form where the commentator will say, you know, suppose this person comes up and says, well, that's not true because that's not true because emptiness means that you can do anything you want because things are empty. And then he'll actually offer a counter argument right in the scripture, and he'll say, no, you know, your reason doesn't follow because this, and it's very cool. And the cool thing about that is it addresses questions that we have in our minds. It's like these great commentators already know the questions that and the problems that people are going to have with the teachings. It's very, very cool. You read them and it's like, oh yeah, I have that problem with that teaching. And then the guy just like slays it right there, right in front of you, and says, no, this is what this means because of this reason. So it's very sweet that way. And the Tengyur, there's 3,400 of those treatises, 3,400, and they have, well, you know, in ACI we have those 5 great books. There's the Tantras, the Perfection of Wisdom, the Abhidharma Kosha, right, Valid Morality. There's the Mind-Only School. There's the Logic. We have the 5 great books, but also the Tengyur, there's like the Jataka Tales, the tales of the Buddha before he was the Buddha, right? They're like children's stories. They're great children's stories about the Buddha before he was a Buddha, you know, offering his life to a mother tiger, you know, things like that, jumping off of a cliff so that an elephant could eat him, or maybe that was a tiger, I'm not sure, but you know, amazing stories of compassion, of like, you know, a being that's so compassionate that he would offer his body, you know, and then he eventually became the Buddha. And there's also sciences in the Tengyur, like arts, Sanskrit, medical scriptures, things like that are also in the Tengyur from the commentaries. Big time in there is middle way too, middle way, which is, we're going to study a lot about the middle way, which is really Majjhimika Prasangika, which is for later, but how to walk that middle line between, oh yeah, things are as they appear and things are empty so nothing matters. And you walk right down the middle of that with the awareness that, yeah, sure, life is illusory. Life is illusory only in the way that it doesn't look like it's coming from my karma. Right? Life is illusory because to a normal person, the things in life don't look like they're coming from my karma. They don't look like they're being projected by me. They don't look like I'm being forced to see the things that I see. And that's why it's illusory. Not because it's not real. The very fact that it is being projected by your mind is what makes it real. That is what gives the flu the ability to come into your body and give you sickness. It is because of that it can look like you go to work and you get a paycheck, and that paycheck is worth something. That piece of paper with your boss's signature on it, for some reason, means $1,000. And for some reason, right, that $1,000 will get you so many things. And it depends upon it depends upon your karma how many things that $1,000 will get you. Because that $1,000, you could take that $1,000 and go to a car lot and buy a car that breaks down the next day. Or you could go to the car lot and buy a car that lasts you for 10 years. And that's because it's illusory. That's because it comes from your karma. And it's illusory because it doesn't seem like it comes from your karma. It seems like the salesman was a jerk. The salesman wasn't a jerk. You were a jerk. You were a jerk before, which produced the jerk, who lied to you about the car that he knew darn well was going to break down the next day. But he, it's like, or did he? Or did he? Or was he a holy Buddha offering you your karma on a silver platter? Who knows? Depends on your perception of the whole affair at any point in time. So this is a good time for have a little break, I believe. What's that?
You have a tune?
Do I have two what?
A tune.
A tune, yes I do, in fact. I do have a tune. I do have a tune.
Okay, good idea. Let's see. What do you do here? Is that okay? Fruits? Oh, okay. All right.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
Sunshine, she's here.
Oh, okay.
Take a break.
Oh.
Hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, take the top away. Because I'm happy I'm alone. If you feel like I'm on this out, I'm happy I'm alone. If you feel like happiness is true, I'm happy I'm alone. If you know happiness is true, I'm happy I'm alone. If you feel like that's what you want, here come that news talking this man. Give me all you got, don't hold back.
I know that
I should probably warn you, I'll be just fine.
Yeah.
Knowing this that you won't waste your time. Here's why. Because I'm happy I'm alone. If you feel like a woman just out. Because I'm happy I'm alone. If you feel like happiness is true. Because I'm happy I'm alone. If you feel like happiness is true. I'm happy alone if you feel like that's what you want to do. Bring me down, can't come. Bring me down, the love is too high. Bring me down, can't come.
The scripture
Bring me down, say, bring me down, can't come. Bring me down, the love is too high. Bring me down, can't come. Bring me down, say, come along if you feel like a happiness out of your heart. Come along if you feel like happiness is a drug. Come along if you know like happiness is a drug. Come along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Come along if you feel like a woman out. If you feel like happiness is a drug. That's what you know. If you know like happiness is a drug. That's what you want. Bring me down, take love. Bring me down, bring me down, take love. Bring me down, if you feel like
because that's when I can do it, right? But you know what? Those actually succeed. Here's the funny thing. Yeah, here's the funny thing. Those that actually succeed in getting what they want through using those methods. Those people actually happen to have had the karma
Set up the big bag.
that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
They had a big bag sitting there.
I have a question.
Yeah.
That I will ask, I guess, but I guess the only thing
yeah, good question.
this is like kind of cloudy for me right now is the mechanics of karma.
Is that for your course or is that?
It is for different
Okay,
course.
okay.
I want to.
The debate.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
It seems like the track record.
Yeah, I don't actually
YouTube.
I should just do the debate
Yeah.
course and then.
I guess you like to do that. You just like.
No,
you
but
don't care what the topic is. You just-
Yeah, no, we go into detail.
No, but it's not that I'm trying to be.
Like for now, it's like good enough.
No,
to
No, I'm
think.
just trying to
Through
clarify the
confrontation.
contradiction.
Yeah.
Clarify contradiction, right?
Yeah.
So just go with that. And then have
Yeah,
fun.
and that's-
I always find contradictions.
Because I imagine that's like
It's almost like
It's it was a whole course. ACI.
Yeah,
it's a little
no,
patch.
which is good. Which is good because
You need
thinker
to
is contradiction. It's great.
exactly.
It goes along.
The
But,
middle plan is only
you know,
wrong because you know
as we roll along,
holding two paradigms.
Don't be surprised if it gets answers.
That's awesome.
Because we're only on class 4. Right.
That's
Just
it.
gonna go into it.
Okay. We need to. We can even do like a study like group. We should go over the book.
Oh, you need this.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I forgot to press my recorder.
From the beginning, I thought so.
No, from at all.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So maybe is your recording?
I was recording just from where you actually started, not from the actual.
No, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah. I
Maybe-
mean, but not the music.
No, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But maybe you could email
Yeah,
the music
sure.
to Mishi.
Yeah, I'll Dropbox it. And
Dropbox it now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I can.
But now it's recording?
Why? What's the point?
Yeah, that's true.
There's no point in starting it now. Yeah. Okay.
Make sure it's
So how's Kay doing?
He's great. He wanted to really come, but he's working.
Yeah.
Next week, hopefully.
Yeah. Kay's the mad drummer that was here.
Yeah, he was talking about it all week too, so he's excited.
Yeah. Cool. Onward and upward. The third quality that an authentic teaching must have. We've kind of already said it, but let's say drupe. Drupe means master, a master, or a realized practitioner. Say wangchuk. Wangchuk means total control. Gi means by them, and tokpa means realization. What this means is, in order for it to be an authentic Dharma, if you hear the Dharma, if you hear this teaching, and you put it into practice, it works. It functions. So that means you should get realizations from it. You should get a continual series of realizations from it that takes you along the path by path by path. And it will do that. If you put in the work, you see, that's where it really comes down to the student. Is putting in time and thinking about the ideas enough. Like, for instance, the very beginning of the path is like, my holy teacher. The holy teacher is the beginning and the middle of the end of the path. It's all about the teacher. They help you in every aspect of your path. Then the next thing is thinking about your leisure and fortune. And it's a path. It's a whole deep concept of thinking over and over and over again how fortunate we are to have a human body. To have a spiritual capacity, to have a certain kind of intelligence that can weigh these ideas, decide whether or not we want to follow them, decide that they're functional or not functional. Right? It takes a certain amount of intelligence to be able to decide that. And especially in our case, having an abundance of wealth. You might not have $1 million, but we're not worried about where we're going to get the next meal. We're not even concerned about whether or not we're going to be able to have a hot shower every day. And we're just so used to a certain standard of living that it's so sweet that sometimes it's hard to remember. It's so sweet, we take it for granted, and it's hard to remember how lucky we are, and that because we're in that position, we're in the running because we have the time and the location. We have the place to meditate. We have the place to practice. We have the time to practice if we just choose to do it. Why is it so hard? Why is it so hard to take a day which is normally filled with things that just aren't going to get you enlightened and carve out an hour, carve out 2 hours, carve out a half an hour, and dedicate that. Okay, this will be my time that I do my spiritual practice. Karma. You're saying it's karma, right? You're right. You're right. It is a karma for it to be difficult to find that. You're right. And so, how do we fight that karma? You see, that's a beautiful thing you just said, because they know that the Buddha knew that. Like, what was it? Buddha's omniscient, right? a Buddha. There's countless Buddhas. You know, Lord Buddha, omniscient, beyond time and space, knew we'd all be sitting here in this room. Speaking to us right now. It's very, 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 very... The karma of it is just insane. It's like... If it is your virtue, or your non-virtue, or your neutral karma, that is ripening at any moment in time, so how you see yourself in this class, how you see me, how you hear these words, they're all dependent upon your karma. How you feel about them. What meaning you give the syllables and the sounds. And if out of my mouth is a string of sounds with syllables and consonants that you then interpret as the Dharma, as something that will ignite your mind. And these are teachings that the Buddha brought to the world. You're being spoken to by the Buddha right now. Whether I see myself as a Buddha or not. You see? Because time and space is a projection. Time and space, it's a karma to be caught in this linear sense of time. So whatever, I flap my jawbone around and words come out, it's not up to me. I can only just say, how I see myself. Unless you're a Buddha, you don't know. In fact, I could see myself as a totally normal person, and someone else in this room could see me as a Buddha. And I would be a Buddha. I would be for that person, and that would be no contradiction there. Or vice versa. I could see myself as a Buddha, and someone could see me as a normal person, and I'd be no contradiction there. I'm both of those things. In that moment in time, for both those perceivers. So the Buddha is telling you, the Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha is telling you, the second step, your leisure and fortune. Contemplate on how lucky you are. How it is that for some reason, you've put in so much virtue into place that you live in a place with hot and cold water, food just raining on you. Like, you can have anything you want. I mean, why does chocolate exist? Where our karma is such that chocolate was forced into the world. Because we have, if you like chocolate and chocolate makes you feel blissful, it's not that chocolate is from its own side, is anything other than what your karma produces. So for some reason, all of us people in like this kind of realm, or say Vancouver, this narrow to Vancouver, have this collective karma of being forced into perceived bliss. Well, how's it going to come through? Well, this brown thing that comes in a wrapper. And then we all have these momentary, experiences of bliss while we chew on chocolate. If our karma was better, we wouldn't need the chocolate. See? If our karma was better, it would be like you'd eat chocolate and it's just like, yeah, well, one more bliss thing. The Brussels sprout was just like that. That weird little green thing was also just as blissful as the chocolate, because that's my karma. So it's easy to forget. It's easy to forget that you, right here and now, is your opportunity. It is your opportunity. There is no other opportunity. What are you waiting for? Right? It's like they say that if you don't like get your head around your leisure and fortune and start practicing, it's like taking a boat and landing on an island full that is completely covered in jewels. Let's just say it's completely covered in diamonds, and you land on there and you go, "This is cool. I'll come back later and fill my pockets. I'll just go back. I'll get back on my boat and go back to dry land or back to wherever." And you just leave the diamonds there. That's what they say. It's like that. So when you realize that, you see, that's a path. That is a path. And at a certain point, when you achieve that path, you have no doubt about the usefulness of your leisure and fortune, and you don't waste it. You know, and these teachings teach that. These teachings teach that. And then like the next step is death awareness. Okay, cool. If that wasn't enough, then guess what? You could die tomorrow. Like it's like, okay, I've realized my leisure and fortune. Okay, yeah, I better do some practice. Yeah, I'll start doing some practice. And then you're kind of hovering at this path. You realize this path, but you're not moving quick enough yet. It's not with quite enough fervor. So then they say, well, guess what else? You know, guess what else? You're going to die. You're going to die. You've been dying since you were born. Your birth was the cause of your death. There is no guarantee that you'll live for 3 more days. There is no guarantee. So get down to practice. You may have 20 more years. You may have 40 more years. And only your spiritual work will be the strong thing that helps you at that moment. So it protects you. You know, it protects you. And it goes like that, step by step by step by step, until the very, very end. It's like you meet your Lama face to face. At the very, very end, you know, and somewhere in the middle there, you see emptiness directly. Right? It takes you to that place, and you achieve that path. Because it functions if you do the work. It will take you there, and then it will take you to the next place. It will take you to nirvana, then it will take you to total enlightenment. If it doesn't have that potential, it's not an authentic dharma. So nothing else will do. If it's a Tibetan Buddhist book and it's been authorized, and yeah, here's an authentic Tibetan book, then it should give you what it's offering if you put it into practice. And that's what makes it authentic. You know, and why would all these commentators of the past bother to spend, you know, years of their lives commentating on carving these things down in wood, you know, if they didn't work? You know, Lama Maru's famous for saying that. Oh yeah, these teachings have been passed from mouth to ear for thousands of years just because they don't work. Right? It's like a sarcastic statement. You know, these they're still around because they've been producing enlightened beings for thousands of years, and here we are. Here we are, reveling in the nectar. So those were the 3 qualities of what a dharma should be, what an authentic dharma should be, what it should offer to consider it an authentic dharma. The next 3 things, and this is from Arya Deva's 400 verses, the 3 qualities of a good student. We've had the 10 qualities of a Lama. We've had the 3 qualities of what makes a Dharma authentic. Now we're going to have what does a student need to have? What 3 qualities does a student need to have in order to be a good student? What do you think?
Is it the opposite of the pot analogies? Like the leaky pot and the
Could be. Could definitely be. Wouldn't it be great if we were all the opposite of the pot? just for okay, yeah. So tell us what the pot is and what it means.
It's an analogy for a bad student, I guess. And so a leaky pot is a student who hears the teachings but forgets about them the next day, or and then the closed pot is the student that doesn't receive the teachings even though he's hearing them. He's not really listening to them. And the third one, or was it just 2?
No, you're doing well, Sharon.
So the leaky pot, the closed pot, the kettle. Is it a kettle?
Okay, well, it could be a kettle.
I don't know the third one.
It could be a kettle.
I can't remember the third one. The leaky pot.
I guess we're all leaky pots.
Dirty?
We've all forgotten.
Dirty pot.
Dirty pot. Dirty pot. Which associates? What's the metaphor? Which is a metaphor for what?
Is it they just don't understand the teachings correctly?
No.
Mix it up.
They know too much.
They know too much? No. Pardon?
Motivation.
Yeah. So
Right.
improper motivation, right? They're in class because they want to impress their friends. Right? They want to learn some new Tibetan words and go to a party and impress everybody. You know, like. So yeah, I like that, Sharon. Yeah, is it the opposite of the 3 pot thing? Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I think you might find out that it is quite like that. Let's do some Tibetan. Why not? Say Serne, Loden, Dunyer. Sorry, Dunyerwa. Nyenpo, Nu. Nu means proper vessel. Nyenpo means hear the Dharma. Dunyerwa means aspires to high goal and has the strength to do it. Loden means intelligent, and Serne means corner stay or impartial. So a proper vessel is impartial, intelligent, and aspires to the highest goal. So impartial means like a neutral position. They're open-minded, right? They're open-minded. They're not. They don't come in like you were saying there. I already know, right? I know. There's nothing more. I don't know if there's a greater obstacle than that. I know. I already know. It's a prideful thing. Like I know. And so they come to class, and the teacher's speaking, and they're like, yeah, I know that. I know what that means. I know that. And so, if a person was the opposite of that and was like, I know, I don't really need to hear it, how would that refer to your analogy? That would be the closed lid, right? I mean, it would just bounce right off of you. If you go to your Lama and you have in your mind that you're equal to your Lama or you know more than your Lama, it's just gonna, whatever this is gonna bounce right off your head. You know. I'll tell you one thing that I have learned over the years is being a good student is an art. It's an art form to be like a functioning student. You want your studentality. That's a word. You want your studentness to function for you, right? Because you learn that as a teacher. If anyone here is a teacher, it's like I came into the Dharma, got my teachers, and I don't really think it was until I started teaching that I started to understand how to be a good student.
The best teachers.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing that will purify your mind quicker and get you happening than actually teaching the stuff that you're desiring to learn, right? And I've done it myself. I've done it myself lots of times in all kinds of classes. Like something in my mind, this little private thing in my mind is going like, oh yeah, I know that, or I already knew that, or yeah, that's already happening for me, and not quite seeing them on the plane of reality that would function for me, right? It's like that thought pattern immediately cuts me off from their power. You see, I've diminished their power. It negates me from the transmission, because you will find this, and you probably already experienced this in your life. Depending on like what's on your mind, you can be getting something from the teaching that is not in the words. Because these are all ways for us to get somewhere that can't be described anyways. This is all a way for us to travel a path that will function for us as like rungs on a ladder that will like implode us in upon ourselves to then have the ultimate realizations. And the teacher that is teaching, who's already done that, and their mind has been to ultimate reality, maybe they're in nirvana and you don't even know it. Who knows how you see them? They're speaking to you. They are giving you that. When they speak, they're saying the words they know they must say in order for your mind to be able to travel along the trail. But they're also sending you a message from their heart that is just what they are. And when they're looking at you in a light that is reflected by their virtue, you see? So if how you see your teacher is dependent upon your karma, and you're seeing like a holy being, you have the virtues you hold, and well, what if they just actually happen to see themselves as a holy being? What is their karma? How can you be irritating to them? How can you seem like a normal suffering person to them? So when they speak to you, they're speaking to something that you may not see in yourself, which can ignite something in you. You feel the pranic effect. You feel the pranic effect in your body from their presence. But they will also be able to see like the you that you see, in a sense, of yourself. Like you come to them and they can see that, okay, yeah, well, they have this mental affliction that they're trying to deal with. But they see the Buddha that you're going to be. And they have to help you get there. Because you're not a Buddha until you see yourself as a Buddha. If you doubt you're a Buddha, you ain't no Buddha. So it's like they're removing the doubt from your mind. It's their job is to take the doubt from your mind. You see? So, if you want to help them do that, then take the lid off. Right? If you want to help them, then put them way up there. And even if they're saying something that you've heard a whole bunch of times, you try and be present for the other thing that's going on. So And the other thing was, okay, so impartial, open, intelligent. Intelligent. So that might be like, that doesn't really mean, I mean, you can be intelligent and still be leaky. All right? I mean, you can really be intelligent and be leaking like crazy.
Is it a certain type of intelligence though?
It is. It's a spiritual intelligence. It's like the kind of intelligence that isn't just coming to class and then taking everything at face value and just saying, oh yeah, it must all be true, and not putting it up against their own like logic and test of life, and does it fit my reality, and could this be true, and then testing it out in life, and willing to think, willing to think about emptiness, willing to go the distance on, willing to go the distance on what this means, that this clock is empty of being a clock from its own side, and why it's either a positive thing or a negative thing to have a clock, right? I mean, so in other words, being able to intellectually go over these ideas until they become a path, until it pops in your mind and you have a realization. That takes intelligence. It takes spiritual intelligence. And then aspires to the highest goal. So, motivation,
It
right?
still seems like it's encompassing the three practices of Buddhist, renunciation, wish, and wisdom. Right? Is it like it's just a little bit?
No, yeah, in a way it is, yeah. I mean, because you've got the highest goal. What's that? Bodhicitta, right? Yeah, wanting to become a enlightened being. So they're coming to class because they want to become a Buddha. They want to become a Jesus. They want to become that. That's bodhicitta. I don't know if renunciation. I mean, you can be impartial and not have renunciation. Like I mean, it's like it's. I think what it's saying is that having the qualities of being impartial, having the qualities of being open-minded, and having the qualities of being spiritually intelligent, and having the qualities of aspiring for the highest goals will actually give you renunciation. Because if you're not spiritually intelligent, and if you're not open-minded, how could you possibly entertain, giving up the ideas that make you suffer? Because you wouldn't have the capacity to even go there.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is it possible for somebody who's never heard of the Buddhist teachings or any kind of spiritual teaching to be an enlightened being? In this life, so they've never heard of the Buddhist teachings or any kind of spiritual teaching in this life.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible for them to be already enlightened without
This
that?
is Buddha.
Well, there's a thing called a self-made Buddha that we talk about, and it's not that they're self-made, and it's not that they're a Buddha, but they're called a self-made Buddha because at a certain point in time, like say in this life, something pops for them, and they suddenly reach like great high states, or could become enlightened, right? And what they say about that is, it appears like it happened all by itself. It appears like they didn't have a teacher. But what they say is, well, they had thousands of teachers, but in previous lifetimes. And in this lifetime, they were kind of living a normal life, and all of a sudden, you hear about it all the time, right? about people that just have these experiences and then they're just different, and then they teach or they influence many people, and they may not know a single Buddhist term. You know, I like that. Like Buddha wasn't a Buddhist. You know, it was like the people that came after and had to put metaphorical labels upon what he was saying that said, okay, this is Buddhism, right? He didn't say, I'm teaching Buddhism, right? Jesus wasn't a Christian. That was like all came later, you know? So someone could, like, boom, right?
Are those people like at a greater risk of, like, let's say they don't learn about Buddhism even after the experience, are they at a risk of like falling out of that state because of that? I guess
seriously doubt it. Yeah. Yeah. I seriously doubt it. Like because once your mind passes a certain place, you're not susceptible to putting into place the karmas that would take to drag you down, right? Because, you know, a person who's like that, a person who's like blown wide open, right? They're just blown wide open. Their love for other people is so great that everything they do is just more virtue. You know, everything they do is, so it's like they wouldn't. It's like they wouldn't have the capacity to put the like non-virtues into place that would then pull them away from that, right? All right. Well, that's class 4.
2 more?
6 more.
For
For this
Yes,
class.
For this
One.
class?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, it wasn't 9, it was 12.
Yeah. 6 more.
10.
Yeah, and then like 10 more of the other class of the ACI courses. So what's that? 180 minus 10. So like 170 to go. No, 176 to go. if you're going to take everything. But this is a teacher training course, okay? You know, it's sublime, and you know, if you do all your homeworks and quizzes, and then you know you're in the position to be able to teach it. You don't have to do that to get the realization. You don't have to do that for it to function for you as a path. But it will definitely offer you an abundance of opportunity to expand your mind. You were going to say something, Brad?
Oh, I forgot.
All right then.
Next time.
Okay. Buki Jukshin Meito Tramri Rabling Shi Nyende Gen Padi Sange Shindu Mikte Uwar Gidro Kunanda Shingla Chupasho Idam Guru Rana Mandala Kamnitayami Dike Wokun Sunam Yeshe Zog Zog Shing Sunam Yeshe Lejun Wei Dampa Kuni Topasho. Thank you, everyone, for coming. If you insist. Yeah. So next week, same time, same place, my sister will be teaching. I'll be in retreat. My amazing sister, Christine. Is that? Next 2 weeks, yeah. My amazing sister.
So if you happen to miss a class, you just read the books. And then
Yeah.
that's all you can read.
Yeah.
Website. Yeah.
If you miss a class, you can watch it on Ustream.
Awesome.
Yeah, they get archived, and you can say, you can watch it. Yeah. So prepare thyself for amazing Bodhisattva, sister of mine, next week.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So,